Australia, 1993. The residents of Pebble Creek, a small housing development outside Melbourne, become the unwitting subjects of a most unusual drug trial when they go to their mailbox one morning and discover a free course of vitamin supplements. More than just promising increased energy, improved focus, these pills promise nothing less than total health. Intrigued by the promise of fitness in a pill and for free, the residents of Pebble Creek begin taking them and do indeed start seeing results almost immediately. Increased strength, stamina, all-around physical health. But nothing comes without a price, and soon the side effects set in. Liquefying flesh, tentacles, and that is the plot of the movie Body Melt. Hi, I'm Matt, and that alarm means the Klonopin should be kicking in, so I'd like to talk to you tonight about social anxiety. The first time I performed at one of these mixtape events, a woman came up to me afterward and said, "When you started talking, we didn't know what was wrong with you." Let's find out together. According to the DSM-5, social anxiety is described thusly: a persistent fear of one or more social or performance situations in which the person is exposed to unfamiliar people. Or to possible scrutiny by others. The individual fears that he or she will act in a way or show anxiety symptoms that will be embarrassing or humiliating. The feared situations are avoided or are else endured with intense anxiety and distress. The person recognizes this fear is unreasonable or excessive. Stupid person. As far back as I can remember, social anxiety has been part of who I am. Where does that come from? Genetic predisposition? Random chance? Popping an erection in sweatpants on stage at a 5th grade talent show while duetting The Greatest Love of All by Whitney Houston with your first crush? No one can really say. What we do know is that social anxiety shapes our lives. I'm a writer, a film guy. These are pursuits usually enjoyed alone, and I'm sure that social anxiety contributed to their appeal. But of course, it's not that simple. We, the socially anxious, are not hermits, and contrary to the DSM, I've never shied away from performance situations. I was a stage actor for years, sometimes performing in front of hundreds of people a night, and I enjoyed it. I was never uncomfortable on stage. I knew my lines, I had my blocking. Everything was predetermined and controlled in a way life rarely is. Let me amend that. I was never uncomfortable on stage. In a theater, in the audience, it was sometimes a different experience due to a bafflingly popular concept called audience participation. This is where performers involve random audience members in the show in an effort to... I don't know why the hell they do it. But apparently some people really enjoy it. For me, nothing brings a sheen of sweat to my palms faster than an actor breaking the fourth wall to call to the back, "Hey, can we bring up the house lights a little?" And then scanning the crowd for some poor sap to come up and join in the fun. I'm transported immediately to pre-calc, sitting there trying to make myself as small and inconspicuous as possible to avoid the eye of a teacher looking for an answer I do not have. Audience participation is what... No, because you know what? It's such bullshit. If I buy a ticket For a performer to be paid to entertain me, that's what I want to happen. It's like, you know what it's like? Audience participation is like dropping a ton of money to go to a fancy spa and showing up for your massage and walking in the room and it's all candles and whale songs and sandalwood, and there's your massage therapist undressed to their comfort level under a towel waiting for you to work on their glutes. Who wants that? And yet, somewhere in America, the lights just went up on another performance of Tony and Tina's wedding. Anyway, for this next thing, I'm going to need a volunteer from... Can we bring... Jordan, can we bring the house lights up?
No. We talked about this, Matt.
We didn't get the slider thing.
Nope.
It's the last,
Sorry, bud.
It's the last night, Jordan.
I know.
It's fine. It's
Something
fine.
I can do. Sorry.
It's fine.
It's all right.
I'll just do it myself, like a professional. I've prepared some visual aids with a children's drawing pad from Family Dollar. Anxiety. Fear. What's the difference? We all have fears. We don't all have an anxiety disorder. Take, for example, the hottest new fear in the clubs this season, a little something the kids call FOMO. FOMO stands for the fear of missing out. As a socially anxious person, I don't experience FOMO. For example, this evening somewhere, people are looking at Wayward Theater's Facebook posts about this very event and experiencing FOMO like a mofo. But for me, if there's a party going on somewhere, there's no part of me that wishes it was there. FOMO is defined as anxiety that an exciting or interesting event may currently be happening elsewhere. It is often aroused by social media posts. Well, who isn't? So I don't get FOMO, but of course we can't always avoid parties. Sometimes we have no choice in these things. Your cousin's stepson is only turning 8 once. And in those situations, I may experience certain related anxieties. Like FOGO, the fear of going out. Or FOBO, the fear of being out. Or if you catch me in a Latin mood, fogo de chao, the fear of going out due entirely to constant hyperactive overthinking. We socially anxious may have foist, the fear of incessant stupid talking. Oh my God, I'm still babbling at this person and they know that I have no point and I'm not even listening to what I'm saying anymore, but oh, that sounded racist. We may be forlorn with the fear of really looking obnoxious right now. This is a fear where you think that everyone within earshot wishes you weren't there just as much as you do. In extreme situations, we may have foosball table. The fear of overstepping boundaries and looking like a total asshole before, like, everybody. But really, what social anxiety comes down to is FOOP. Fear of other people. It's right there in the name, social anxiety. If I'm out in public and I unexpectedly see someone I know, even a close friend or family member, I will turn around before they see me and walk away so fast I'm like a ninja assassin in reverse. Every social interaction must be prepared for, even rehearsed in advance, to manage as completely as possible what their perception of me will be. It's never the other person's fault, but does that make it any better? Is there anything more narcissistic than it's not you, it's me? It's not always panic. Certainly it's not always as bad as a panic attack. But to some degree, the anxiety is always there. Think of it this way. You start dating someone new. You like them and you want them to like you. That's just baseline anxiety. Now, let's say that a week after your first date with, let's call her Erin, she suggests grabbing drinks with half a dozen of her friends. That's social anxiety. You don't want to go, but you want to make a good impression. So you go and you spend a lot of energy making sure that everything goes exactly right. It's exhausting, but you're doing all right until at one point in the group conversation, you actually do call her Erin and only then remember that her name is Kate. That's panic. You apologize, of course, at which point Kate points out that you've been calling her Erin all night. And you look around the table, and from the looks on the faces of her friends, you can see everyone's just relieved someone finally said something. That's a panic attack. And we call that being fucked. With the fear of calling Kate Erin, dipshit. And from that point on, you cease using names with even your family and friends, relying exclusively on you, buddy, and this one. Hey, you. How's it going? Buddy? This one. When you have social anxiety, much of your life is dedicated to the search for safe spaces, those rare havens of people, places, and events where the anxiety dissipates and you can just be. They're few and far between and require careful cultivation. Most of the time you're traversing a minefield of paranoia, desperately improvised small talk, and low-grade terror. Luckily, there are drugs that can help with social anxiety, like alcohol or smoking. Oh, smoking. Before 2017, when they found out it was bad for you, smoking was the ultimate anxiety relief. It works on so many levels. It gives you something to do with your hands, so you're not just flailing about the way an idiot might do. It gives you something to plug your talk hole, limiting the chance to say stupid stuff. The nicotine was nice, of course, but the best thing about smoking was the way it gave you the ability to excuse yourself from any uncomfortable situation, to just step outside for a cigarette, to step away for 10 minutes of fresh air, reasonably fresh air, knowing you'd be surrounded only by the fellow socially anxious who understood while you were there. That was how I met my first Los Angeles roommate. It was at the Austin Film Fest in Austin, Texas, during a networking mixer that we'd both paid to attend and then had immediately left. We were outside smoking on the loading dock and discovered we were both planning moves to Los Angeles. 6 months later, we were sharing a 2-bedroom apartment in Brentwood, both of us pursuing careers in screenwriting and also emphysema. We didn't feel the need to feel anxious around one another because we both got it. We parted ways after a year, and I spent the rest of the decade bouncing around Los Angeles, Culver City, West LA, even a brief stint in a sketchy neighborhood in West Hollywood where stepping outside for a smoke after dark didn't mean finding a sympathetic community of the fellow socially anxious. but rather a scrawny, scraggly-haired Eastern European man muttering darkly to himself in Belarusian as he stared at you with dead eyes. Like Jesus, if Jesus wanted to murder you. My closest friends in LA were a couple of other Minnesota expats named Steve and Natalie. They have 3 girls, a toddler at the time and 2 newborn twins. I was their unofficial nanny for a while, which was a job I actually found to be a surprising safe space, mostly due to the fact that babies haven't yet picked up on social norms and are therefore reasonably non-judgmental. I kept that job until a few falls off of couches and swing sets introduced a new, highly potent form of anxiety to my life, and I realized I needed to trade in childcare for a job in which, if I made a mistake, a baby didn't die. I moved back to Minnesota a few years later, but it was in Los Angeles that I discovered what was to be my ultimate safe space in a most unexpected place. One night just before Halloween, I was walking through Santa Monica on my way to the ocean. It's really hard to be anxious at the ocean. The ocean doesn't give a shit. When I noticed a large group of people gathered outside an ancient repertory cinema called The Arrow. It was just after nightfall, and the crowd was lit by the bright white light of a marquee advertising the 3rd annual Arrow Theater Dusk Till Dawn Horror-thon. I said earlier that I'm a film guy, but horror films were never really my thing. No, what attracted me to The Arrow was the vibe coming off of the people outside. Everyone there was just laughing and talking and smoking. So I was drawn like a bug to a porch light and crossed the street, bought a ticket, and made my way inside among hundreds of gorehounds and assorted misfits, just in time for Night of the Creeps, a late 80s masterpiece about a bunch of frat guys who choose the wrong corpse to steal for a prank and find their formal dance overrun by alien brain slugs. Sitting there with that rowdy but oddly respectful crowd, it was the greatest film ever made. It was the La Dolce Vita of alien brain slug movies. After that was Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. That's the one where Leatherface and his deranged family of freaks chase a late-night radio DJ and Dennis Hopper through an abandoned amusement park, and it's all just as awesome as it seems. After that was the New Zealand zombie epic Dead Alive by Peter Jackson, who went on to do Lord of the Rings and respectable things. I'd seen this one and I'd enjoyed it, but let me tell you, you've never seen a crotchety old New Zealand woman accidentally eat her own ear in a bowl of porridge until you've seen it with a horror-thon crowd. As advertised, the movies went on till dawn. The last known print of 70s cult classic, Let's Scare Jessica to Death, all pink and yellow and beat to shit and beautiful. Demons, Death Dream. Between the movies, everyone would flee to the lobby for free pizza and energy drinks, becoming simultaneously more tired and wired, but happy and talking and laughing and at ease. It made no difference that I'd never been there before, that I didn't know anyone. Everyone was welcome here. All were accepted. That was 2008, and I've gone back nearly every year since. I've seen classics like Candyman and Phantasm and The Thing, and obscurities like Devil Fetus, The Night of 1,000 Cats, and yes, Body Melt. But the movies come second to the community. Over the years, I've brought old friends and made new ones, and together we've watched the eviscerations and the demon possessions, the tourists impaled by killer mannequins, and a chainsaw fight between a sheriff and a man wearing a severed pig's head. All of these things designed to terrify and unsettle have become the centerpiece to the only party where I've ever felt truly comfortable. We socially anxious, we learn to manage. The world at large will never be as comfortable to me as those long, joyful nights of blood and entrails. So we develop our tools, take our meds, and look forward to the times in our safe spaces. A couple of years after I discovered Horrorthon, I was still living in LA, but I'd flown back to buy a car, and I was driving it back west with my dad taking turns behind the wheel. We made the trip in 2 days, only stopping once in Las Vegas to grab some dinner and a place to sleep for a night in a cheap motel on the Strip. We sought out food in one of the casinos, and as we were leaving, I looked across a sea of blackjack tables to see none other than Steve and Natalie playing halfway across the room. I remembered they had family in Nevada and would occasionally take the advantage of free family childcare to have a weekend for themselves. I watched them win or lose a hand and lay down chips for another. What a crazy coincidence, I thought to myself as I turned around before they could see me and walked quickly in the other direction. I'd see them all again when we got back to Los Angeles. I'd be ready for them then. Thank you.